So today we'll be discussing the University of Calcutta past year paper 2017. Before discussing the paper, we should understand the paper pattern. Paper pattern is the entire total marks is 80 marks and it is divided into two halves, that is Group A and Group B. Group A consists of 20 questions of 1 mark each equals to 20 marks, and Group B consists of 30 questions of 2 marks equals to 60 marks. So in total it is a 80 marks paper, and in the format that is multiple choice questions, right? So those who have not yet watched the video of the part 1 of the 2017 previous year paper, please do watch it, and then this video will be, or this session will be helpful for them. So today what we are doing the Group B of the 2017 University of Calcutta. So now let's begin with the first question. So we are discussing Group B. Group A is already done. So those who have not watched the past video, please go to the channel and watch it. So Group B consists of total 30 questions. So today we will be discussing 15 of them. So let's begin with the first question. And I need answers from all of you. Fine? So do at least attempt it. Doesn't matter right or wrong, but you should attempt the questions. So let's begin with the first one, very fast. A proposal, when accepted, becomes A, promise, B, contract, C, offer, D, acceptance. A proposal, when accepted, becomes A, promise, B, contract, C, offer, and D, acceptance. I'm getting the correct answers. Yes. The offer, a proposal when accepted becomes a offer. Becomes a promise. So it's option A. Option A is correct. So proposal or an offer when accepted becomes a promise. Option A is correct. Next question. When the consent of the party is not free, the contract is A, void, B, voidable, C, valid, D, illegal. When the consent of a party is not free, the contract is A, void, B, voidable, C, valid, and D, illegal. Very simple question, but people are still making mistake in understanding. Actually, the correct answer is option number A. Option A is correct. It is void. Because one of the essential elements of the valid contract is to have a free consent, right? And both the parties or all the parties of the contract should agree upon the same thing in the same sense. That is consensus algorithm or the free consent, right? So consent is defined in section 13 of ICA, and it says that the consent should not be influenced by coercion, undue influence, misrepresentation, mistake, or fraud. So if it is either way, I would say influenced by any of it, which we discussed, coercion, undue influence, mistake, misrepresentation, or fraud, then the contract shall be void, not voidable. So please, these kind of questions should not go wrong, right? So option A is correct. Moving to next one. The person making the offer is known as dash, and the person to whom the offer is made is known as dash. Choices: A, drawer, drawing, B, endorser, endorsee, C, offerer, offeree, and D, proposer and seconderer. Yeah, this one I'm getting correct. It is the person who is making the offer is known as offerer, and the person to whom the offer is made is known as offeree. Which one is the false statement here? So we have to identify the false statement. Very important question, and we'll discuss about with respect to this question a little in brief. First, let's answer it. A must move at the desire of the promisor. B may move from any person. Must be illusionary. Must be of some value. So what is this context? First, we need to identify that what is being asked, and we have to identify which statement is false. So identify it from here. Which statement is false? Let me see how the answers are coming. Okay, so people are intelligent enough to answer this. So correct answer, they are answering right. So they are answering right. So I'll ask another question. What is the context of this question? Tell me the topic in the chat. Meanwhile, the correct answer for those who are not able to answer, that is option C. Which of the following statement is false? False statement is option C. Must be illusionary. Now I know the topic. Yes. Sir Faraz, very good. You are saying consideration is perfectly correct. So all these statements which are being said here are being given in the option are the features of consideration. So consideration must move at the desire of the promisor. Yeah, in English law, it is compulsory that the consideration should move at the desire of the promisor. But in case of Indian law, right, it may move from any other person, but the condition is that that person should be benefiting from the contract. So that's why he can also move the consideration. Consideration must be real and not illusionary, right? So the consideration must be real and not illusionary. Another feature is consideration must be of some value. So we are talking about the adequacy of the consideration, right? So the correct answer means here the correct choice is option C, which is wrong. That is false. Now moving to the next one, minor's agreement is void ab initio. So you have to identify the case now where this judgment was passed or this statement was being given. Minor's agreement is void ab initio. In which of the following cases this was being held? A. Mohini versus Dharmodash Ghosh. B. Leslie versus Shell. C is Nash versus Inman. D is Raghava Charya versus Srinivasa. So in which case law this was being held? Yes, all intelligent people are answering correct. They are saying A and they are good. They are going good. Mohini Devi versus Dharmodash Ghosh. That is the very leading case study in which this statement was being held. That is, minor's agreement is void ab initio, means it will be void from the beginning itself. What's the reason that the minor's agreement is void ab initio? Anybody in the chat? Why the minor's agreement is void ab initio? Tell me in the chat. Why minor's agreement is void ab initio? What's the reason? By now at least you know the reason. That's why you answered the correct. In the chat. Why minor's agreement void ab initio? That I know, the meaning I know. He is minor, so what's the problem? Void from the starting only for the minor, I know that. That we have already discussed. The reason behind it. We have to hit on the target. So what is it? Why minor agreement are void? Unenforceable, I understood. Cannot be unenforced. It cannot be enforced. Understood. But why? What's the reason? You know all the things, but still you are not able to pick up that one key point. We are focusing on our main focus of ICA is what? Or a contract is what? The main focus of the contract is its essential elements. So minor doesn't qualify which condition? Now, of course, I've given the hint. Yes, Nikita is saying that they are below 18 years. I know that. But minority status is different in different countries, right? So in our country, it is 18 years, and above are called major and below are called minor. But the reason behind the minors agreement being void at issue is that the minor is incapable of making a valid contract. So I just wanted that answer from all of you. Now let's move to the next one. So please understand how we can link the questions and the topics. Essential elements of valid contract, very, very important topic. This is the importance, that's why we are discussing the past topic. An agreement to pay money or money's worth on the happening or non-happening of a specified uncertain event is A. Wagering agreement, B. Contingent agreement, C. Quasi contract, D. Uncertain agreement. So I need the next answer. Now we have got the next answer. Okay. Agreement to pay money or money is worth. I know that the confusion will happen in these two choices only. These two choices are anyways not so important. Quasi contract and uncertain agreement is anyway eliminated. Now moving to this discussion, that A versus B. Agreement to pay money or money is worth on the happening or non-happening of a specified uncertain event is A. Wagering agreement. In case of wagering agreement, it is that the wagering agreement to pay money or something, money or money's worth on the happening or non-happening of the uncertain event, but that uncertain event is a specified event. Suppose in case of wagering agreement is a betting kind of agreement, right? The word wager means bet. So here, suppose a person is betting that in the next IPL match or next match of any test cricket is going on. So next match, of course, Rohit Sharma's first ball will be six. Example. Then obviously he is betting, and this is called a wagering agreement, and it's a specified uncertain amount. Fine. So option A is correct here, and not the option B. An agreement for lawful consideration, but with dash object is dash. A. Lawful, voidable. B. Unlawful void. C. Legal major. And D. Legal invalid. So an agreement for lawful consideration, but with unlawful object is void. So option B is correct. Most of them are given correct answer. So an agreement for lawful consideration. So consideration may be lawful, but the object is unlawful, then it will be considered as void. A dash agreement is not necessarily dash. A. Legal invalid. B. Void illegal. C. Void valid. D. Legal enforceable. So this question, the void agreement is not necessarily illegal. So option B is correct. The discharge of contract means dash. A. Enforcement of obligation of parties. B. Coming to end of obligation of parties. C. Renewal of obligation of parties, and D. Payment of damages and fine. So what is discharge of contract? Discharge of contract means coming to end of obligations of the parties. So that is the termination of the contract or discharge of the contract. So all the parties will be, their obligations will come to an end. So they have performed their obligations, right? So then only the contract will be discharged. So option B is correct. In case of breach of contract, which of the following remedies is available to the aggrieved party? A. Suit for rescission. B. Suit for damages. C. Suit for specific performance. And D. All of these. So correct answer is all of these. Now what is suit for rescission? Suit for rescission or rescission term means that avoiding of a contract that is not recognized as legally binding. So what is the effect of rescission? Rescission will be unmaking of contract or its undoing from the beginning and not merely its termination. So the rescission creates the obligation to return the object of the contract. So it can be carried out only when one of who demand rescission can return whatever he may be obliged to restore. So suppose we take an example that A and B both are different parties. So A has given certain goods to B, and suppose now this rescission kind of a thing needs to be done. Then what will happen? B has to return the benefit or return the goods back to A. Then only it will be considered as an unmaking of contract. Fine? So this is rescission. And suit for damages, everyone know it, and suit for specific performance, like if the goods are not delivered on time and the buyer is aggrieved party, he can also sue for the specific performance, that he bought the goods by this time and this was the specification, right? So that is a specific performance of the contract. So all these are the remedies which are available to the aggrieved party in case of breach of contract. Bailment. Bailment dash reward or consideration is dash bailment. So bailment dash reward or consideration is dash bailment. Types of bailment and bailment. That's the question. So the correct answer is option B. Bailment without reward or consideration is called gracious bailment. Right? So here it is being done, bailment is done without any consideration for the benefit of either bailor or a bailee, or both of them, is called gracious bailment. So no consideration is there. A agrees to sell his old phone valued at rupees 2000 to B, a dealer, in exchange for a new smartphone, and agree to pay the difference in cash. It is A. Barter, B. Exchange, C. Contract of sale, D. Invalid contract. Now here we need to understand that A is agreeing to sell a old phone of rupees valued at 2000, right? And he will be getting a new smartphone. And he also agrees that whatever be the difference amount, he will pay in cash. So obviously pattern is no way the answer. Invalid. Why will be invalid? A, B gone. No confusion between B and C. That only I can notice from the answers. So the correct answer is option C, contract of sale. It is not an exchange. Exchange is like you are just exchanging one phone for another. But here it is happening like that. The old phone is exchanged for a new one. Plus the difference is like difference amount is paid in cash. It's a valid contract of sale. Breach of condition under the Sales of Goods Act results in A. Rejection of goods, B. Repudiation of contract, C. Claim for damages, D. Both A, B. Breach of contract amounts to what? These questions are very basic. At least everyone should be able to answer these. Attempt these questions. What's the issue in attempting? No one is giving you a negative mark. Condition, breach of condition. So when a condition is breached under the Sales of Goods Act, what is the repercussions? Rejection of goods, yes. Rejection of goods that can happen. Repudiation of the contract or cancellation of contract, yes, it can happen. Claim for damages, yes, damages can also be claimed. But now option D is not all of these, means not A, B, C, but it's both A, B. So we'll pick which one. Option B is correct. A and B. Fine. The right of lien, right of stoppage in transit may be exercised simultaneously by an unpaid seller. You have to give the answer whether the statement is true, A, B false, C partly true, D partly false. A good understanding of the concept and these rights are very important to answer this question. Those seem easy, it's a tricky one. So let's try. The right of lien and stoppage in transit may be exercised simultaneously by the unpaid seller. So which one will be the correct one? A is true, B false, C partly true, D partly false. So let us attempt this question. What is right of lien? The right of lien is the retention of possession of the goods by the seller, by the unpaid seller. Right of stoppage in transit is when the goods are not in the control of the seller, it's already in transit, the seller will regain the possession of it, right? By stopping the goods in the transit. Before it reaches the destination, this right can be exercisable, right? Until the goods are in transit, the right of stoppage in transit can be exercised. So now the question is, right of lien and right of stoppage in transit may be exercised simultaneously. It can be done together by the unpaid seller, that is the question. So what should be the answer? At least try to attempt these questions. Now, the correct answer for this question is right of stoppage in transit and right of lien. Can it be exercised simultaneously? Can be exercised together. One is where the possession is with the seller, he is retaining the possession. And another is that he has already, his possession is lost, so he is regaining it. So can it be done simultaneously is the question. Now obviously the confusion will be between option A and option B. C, D is just for as a choice. So the correct answer for this question is option number A. That is true. How it is true that right of lien and right of stoppage in transit can be exercised simultaneously? Yes, can be. How it can be done? Right of stoppage in transit will be exercised, right? And then the lien will be obtained, means the possession will be obtained, and this can also be exercised. So together it can go, right? So that is option A is correct. Now moving to the next one, the delivery of the key of warehouse in which the goods are stored amounts to A. Symbolic delivery, B. Actual delivery, C. Constructive delivery, D. Open delivery. We have already discussed this question when we were discussing the MCQ questions. So people have followed that MCQ series which was going on in the channel. They have watched all the videos, they'll be able to perfectly answer this question. So which kind of delivery it is? Delivery of key of warehouse in which the goods are stored amounts to which kind of delivery? It's a symbolic delivery. So option A is correct. That it's a symbolic delivery. Delivery of key of warehouse where the goods are stored is known as symbolic delivery. So we discussed the questions today with respect to two acts, right? That is the ICA and the Sales of Goods Act of the University of Paper, that is University of Calcutta 2017 paper, right? So these were two marker questions for your information. And now we will analyze that which are the topics which are most important for you to understand and give more emphasis on it. First one is you understood that the discharge of contract, the terms like rescission, remission, these kind of terms they can ask you the direct meaning of it. Next is that the remedies of the breach of contract. So the later part of the act or in the syllabus, the later chapters are really important. Understood that one thing. Next thing is with respect to I told you about the discharge of contract and the remedies of the breach of contract. Very, very important. Then the next thing which is really important here, which we found that the bailment, pledge and these kind of contracts, right? So in indemnity, bailment, pledge, these topics, types of questions can come from there as well. So these three chapters are really important and emphasis should be given on that to clearly understand the concept, right? Next thing with respect to that is the offer and the basic questions and the essentials of valid contracts. From there, the question will always be framed, be it your this exam or any exam whichever you're planning to do in future. Fine, be it academic, professional, or competitive exam. These essential elements of valid contract. This topic is really, really important. So we understood that this was the overview of the analysis of our discussion, which we did of 2017. Now moving to the Sales of Goods Act. Now Sales of Goods Act topics are important. Types of delivery, I know that these are very important questions. These are already been incorporated when we were discussing the MCQs. So people who have still not watched all the videos of the SOGA MCQ series, do watch it, right? And it will really help you because these questions which I discussed are part of the C questions. They came in the C exam. Now moving to the next thing, in the Sales of Goods Act, we can say that the last chapter, that is unpaid seller, the rights of unpaid seller are important. We need to understand it properly. The conceptual type of question will be asked as true, false kind, and which will be really tough to crack, right? The correct choice. And next, so that is important that your concepts are proper. Here, there is no kind of a cramming thing is going on. So you will cram an answer and you will take, it's easy to go. No, that cannot happen, right? Because it's a 2-marker question. And next thing in Sales of Goods Act, we can say that the basics, the goods, types of goods, these are very important. So essential elements of the contract of sale, then what are the types of goods, then the rights of unpaid seller, these kind of questions will be framed, right? And condition warranty is the most important part of the syllabus. So try to remember it, all the conditions plus with the case studies, right? Even though the case studies we didn't found in this 2017 paper, but they can ask you, and we have discussed the case studies as well. So that's why I'm referring again to that MCQ series. Go and watch all these things. No video should not be missed, fine? If you do want to do really well with these acts, fine? So this is the analysis of both the acts we did today. So that's all for today. We have discussed the 15 questions. Again, I'm making a thing that part 1 of the video is already there in the channel, so go and watch that. Right? This 2017 paper is discussed in 3 halves. So first half is already went online, so go and watch that. This next video will always be uploaded very soon, and the next part will also come very soon. Fine? And do share the video among the friends who still don't know that we are discussing very important topics and very important thing for you, that is the past year papers. So do let others. Fine? Now let's rate the session today. So how the session was, the feedback. From all of you, I want the feedback so we can improve on the next day, like what we can do much better. And much good experience you feel when you attend these lectures. So first, 5 is the rating scale, 5 is the most beneficial session, 1 is the least beneficial session. So let's have the feedback from all. So how was this session? Okay, so Rishabh is saying that good important questions were discussed. Yes, obviously I would discuss the questions which are not so important because I know the value of time. We have limited time and we have to do the maximum from it. So then I'm saying 5 on 5, and hopefully this session is really beneficial to all. So do let your friends know that they should, if they miss this session, they can go and watch the recorded one. So thank you for today's wonderful session. We'll be coming with the next half of the video very, very soon. And do watch all the previous videos. Link and channel is there, you know, from where you get all the videos. So thank you for today's session.